It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
All right, my friends, let me read something to you. This person said the following: I am more at home with my log cabins than I am in my house in Cherry Hill. Muhammed Ali. Okay, folks, and let me tell you something else. In 1972, the great Muhammed Ali began preparing for his biggest fights at a training camp he built and called Fighter's Heaven in rural Deer Lake, Pennsylvania. Today, through the preservation and restoration of the training camp, we're creating a destination that will, for decades to come, remind some and educate others about the remarkable and inspirational life of Muhammad Ali. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I'll tell you about that incident throughout the show. But anyway, Sam Matta is here today, and as we're talking about Muhammad Ali and this great camp, we're going to show you a lot of footage that we have, a lot of interesting things, and we're going to also tell you how you can visit the camp, etc., etc. Sam is no stranger to northeastern Pennsylvania. He's been writing for a lot of papers throughout the area, and he's just one great person. And he watches my show all the time, so he even makes him better. Sam, thanks for coming on the Sam Lesante.
Thanks, Sam. I really enjoy. This is one of the great shows in our area. I mean, you're very informative. I mean, I just saw the priest on a couple of weeks ago, and I even watched the girls. Yeah. I mean, they're so interesting.
I'll tell you, the girls show has been really going through the roof, really, and my show is an informational show, but I appreciate that very much. Sam, first of all, let's talk about Muhammad Ali, and then I'll tell you an interesting experience I had with him. Which was very interesting. How did this Ali camp why did they decide to come to Deer Lake?
Well, everything evolved around his business manager, Gene Kilroy, who's a Monte City native. He's an executive out in Las Vegas with MGM Casino. Gene knew Muhammad Ali back in the late 50s, early 60s. Gene was in the service, and when Ali came out to Rome to fight for the Olympics in 1960. You got to remember, Muhammad Ali was a light heavyweight, but they always envisioned him being a heavyweight because he was such a big man. He was over 6'4", and he had all the attributes to be a heavyweight fighter. But Gene became very, very close to him. And when the Olympics were over, Gene would call then Cassius Clay. And then when he lost his license to fight, Gene still stayed in touch with him. He got him on talk shows. He had him speak out at different colleges to keep him active in the sense that he didn't have an income. And that's the way he stayed active. So 3.5 years later, 3+ years later, Gene's a very, very well-known man. And he's close with the Kennedy family. In fact, when Ted Kennedy died, Gene got a special invitation to go to the funeral. So Gene calls Ted and says to Ted Kennedy, "Can you help me out? I'd like to get Muhammad Ali's license back." And Ted says, "I have a connection out in Mississippi." So the governor out there was about ready to get him a permit. And Gene said, "A permit's not going to work. We need a license." So Ted says, "I got somebody down in Georgia." And Ted had a political connection in Georgia. So Ted Kennedy, they go down there, and sure enough, he says, "Yes, we'll give him his license to fight." Mm-hmm. So that's how it all began. And Gene often said he was going to make a businessman out of Muhammad Ali, which he did, and brought him up to Deer Lake. Atlantic City wanted him in the worst way. The gentleman that owns Benihana Japanese restaurants wanted Muhammad to train in Atlantic City. Gene didn't think that was a very good idea. He felt it was too close to the big time media from New York City to Philadelphia, Washington, and Baltimore. He wanted to get him away from all that big hype. So he takes a trip up to Schuylkill County, and he knows the late Bernie Pollock owned the property, brings him up on Sculp's Hill. It's a dirt road. There's no paved road. Very few people lived up there at the time. And that was in 1971. And Muhammad wasn't really that interested. He takes him to lunch down the road at a place called the Country Squire. It's still there today. And he says to Muhammad, he says, here, we could put a mobile home up there till we start building the place. You'll train in Reading, and finally convinced them. So that's how it all evolved.
What year did they start at Deer Lake?
Well, it was in late 1971 they started to build it. By 1972, the buildings were going up. The gym went up, then a kitchen went up. And Muhammad Ali also wanted a place called, we call it the Ali House. He wanted to live like his ancestors. Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, he wanted to live like that. No electricity. Heat was, he wanted cold heat. He had a pump in there, a water pump. And we have it replicated. Mike Madden, the new owner, and we'll get into that a little bit, he would get his own pump and pour water. There's a really great video with Dick Cavett and Muhammad Ali. And you can Google that. It's a lot of fun.
I saw it.
And it's a great video.
Yes.
So, but Muhammad lived there for a while in that we call it the Ali House. So it was a self-contained a place. We have 8 cabins. People could stay in the cabins. We're looking forward somewhere down the line. There's a mosque where he prayed his religion. There's a chalet where Muhammad Ali stayed for a while, and we have the big Ali House. Our caretaker and our educational coordinator, Mick Stefanik, lives up there right on campus. But everything started evolving. He needed to have those cabins. So when Angelo Dundee came in, and you had Bundini Brown there, naturally Muhammad and Gene Kilroy. Muhammad had 2 bodyguards. I tell people that they had 2 bodyguards. They said, what do you need bodyguards for? As a fighter, your hands are considered lethal weapons.
Yes.
And they're insured. So he needed bodyguards. So there's a large support cast has to be there in order to sustain that type of camp. There are 2 big bunkhouses up on the top, and that's where all the sparring partners stayed. In fact, the last time I was here, Sam, was when you had Larry Holmes on.
Yes.
And Larry Holmes was a sparring partner for Muhammad Ali. And it's a great place to visit.
The interesting thing about Muhammad Ali is that when he came to this area, he I guess through Gene Kilroy, he made a lot of friends up here in the Greater Hazleton area. I mean, Dr. Greco was like his physician, his doctor, and of course he made friends with the Beltramis and a lot of people in this area. And you found him to be it was nowhere, when you met Muhammad Ali, it was not like the guy you saw on television, okay? It was such a difference. You've met him, right?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. Folks, I'm talking to Sam Matta. He is the media relations director for the Ali camp. And you're seeing some of the footage as we're talking. It's just a great place. We'll be back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. It's called Fighter's Heaven. It's the former training camp of Muhammad Ali, and we have Sam Matta, who is the media relations director here on the show. Remember, folks, you can watch all of our programming. All you need to do is download our app, SSP TV. Just search SSP TV, download the app. You'll watch every show that we produce. And, of course, on our website, ssptv.com. Sam Matta, you met Muhammad Ali, right?
Well, back in the day, way back.
So when you met him for the first time, what was your impression?
He was fun to be around. And the most important thing about Muhammad, a lot of people don't realize this, he loved to be around young kids. He had fun with the young kids. He was a magician too, and his hands were that quick, and he would perform magic tricks. He loved all of that stuff. Did you ever, in the summertime, when you were a kid, a fly went by, you try to grab a fly,
yeah.
And it's almost impossible?
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali had the fastest hands in the world, and he was able to grab flies. Yeah. But he was a lot of fun to be around. And he was entertaining. That's what made Muhammad Ali a little different. He brought the fight game back, the heavyweight fight game. It was on its back. And when he said he was going to beat Sonny Liston, and he called himself the greatest after he beat Sonny Liston, and that drew a lot of attention worldwide. And that's how everything evolved in terms of his charismatic ways.
Sometimes when you see a persona of a person, you interpret that person to being, I'm just, so how many times we've seen people on TV or whatever, and when you meet them, it's such a different person. Like when I was on the Regis and Kathy Lee show, Regis Philbin is just exactly the kind of person he is on TV, and as he is off camera, really a nice person. And my partner and I, Johnny Morano, we had music stores, as you know, Morano Lesante, and so Booty decided to send. There's a new organ came out called the Teeny Genie, okay, and he said, I want you to take one of these organs down to Muhammad Ali at Deer Lake. I said, okay. He says, tell Muhammad this is for him because he really enjoyed it. It was such an easy thing to play where you hit one thing and the chord would play, and anyone could play the organ, okay. So we load it up, we take it down to Deer Lake, and he was doing training, and there's all these buses, etc. So I come out and I said, I have an organ here for Muhammad Ali. So what do you mean? I said, well, Booty told me to bring this down, and so I said, how about if I just put it in the the place, and then if he needs me, call me. And just then, Muhammad Ali was coming off the boxing arena, and people were lining up to get his autograph, right? So he sees me with this bringing the organ, and he calls me over, and he said, "What?" I said, "Booty told me to bring this organ to you." I said, "But I know you're busy." I said, "However," he said, "No, sit here." So I sat next to him, and he's signing autographs, talking to me, and thanking the person, and giving each person their just due. And he says, "Tell me about this organ, right?" And he said, "I've always wanted to play, and I had to sit there for an hour with him, Sam, okay?" And I said, what a beautiful person this guy is versus what you see on television. Did you find that?
Oh, yes. I mean, because when you see these people on television, they seem larger than life. But once you get to actually be with them and touch them or just shake hands with them, they're just ordinary people. Do they have egos?
Oh.
To an extent, you have to have an ego in that relationship. But you talked about his music. You wanted to be an organist. One of your good friends, John Sanko, who lives down in the valley here.
Yeah.
John Sanko is a music lover.
Oh, yes.
And he tells the story to me about when Muhammad Ali was a singer. He made an album up, and one of the songs he made was he didn't make it. He sang it, was "Stand By Me" by Benny King. And so there was a contest up in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre on one of the radio shows, and the host said, "Nobody will ever guess who this is." Well, John had just got finished reading a story that Muhammad Ali was going to appear on American Bandstand, and he got a brand new suit from Roma Loretti, Roma Taylor's in Pottsville, and then he was going to sing this song down in Philadelphia or Atlantic City, wherever he was going at that time. So the guy plays the song. Yeah. And right away, John Sanko picks it up, and this guy's bragging, "Nobody's ever going to guess who this is." Yeah. So the host, the lady picks up the phone and says, "What's the song?" "Stand By Me." And the guy was flabbergasted, but he didn't know that Sanko had the in on that one.
I see.
So it was kind of funny the way John tells it. Have you ever seen him at your church?
Oh, every Saturday. In fact, we have a lot of fun because when I'm passing the basket back and he's giving his donation, I always pull the basket back, and he has to stretch further to give. Let's talk about the plan, about the training camp, because we have a lot of footage here. When someone goes there, okay, give us a tour of what they would see.
When they come in, we like them parking on the left-hand side. We're open by appointment. You can call us in the numbers on the screen there. Monday to Friday, if you want to come down, just give us a call and leave a message on our answering machine, and we'll get back to you. But we're open Saturday and Sundays from 10 a.m. till 5 o'clock. And people can wander around the camp. I'll explain some things if I'm there. If not, Mick Stefanik will explain some things. We bring you into the gym where it all began. The gym is there. We have a ring, and a lot of people say, is that the same size ring? Oh, yeah. You know, you don't train to run 100 meters by running 50. So Muhammad Ali trained in a ring that was original size. It looks smaller, but and there's a gallery of pictures. And Gene Kilroy donated most of those pictures. We have a special corner for him. Mike Madden wanted to honor him with a special corner, and it's Kilroy's Corner. Gene was that close to him. He was his best man in one of his weddings. He was he served as a pallbearer for Muhammad's mother and father when they passed away. But there's a tremendous amount of photos in there. There's a photo of the Beatles. A lot of people say, the Beatles? Oh, yeah. But that was from down in Miami when he was training for the Liston fight. There's a photo of Elvis Presley. Everybody will say he was in Schuylkill County. That's urban legend, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
The Jackson 5 were there.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of fun when they visited the camp. There were a number of celebrities, but we take you in the gym. You go into the rub-down room, and Muhammad Ali, when he lost to Leon Spinks, he was too heavy. And he wrote on the in the rub-down room in his own handwriting, the date is August the 8th, I believe it is, 1978. He was 228 3/4 pounds. And he ended up, he was just too heavy. He did not get himself in shape. And he loses to Leon Spinks then. Then we take you over into the kitchen, where Aunt Coretta did most of the cooking. And we have the rules up. Aunt Coretta's rules now, it's kind of funny. People say, well, it's spelled wrong. And then we just left it the way it originally, everything is replicated to almost originality. The original stove is there. Where he sat at this huge table, it's so darn heavy. I don't know how the heck you're going to get it out of there if we have to do any work in there. It's a massive table where he entertained people. People would knock on the doors, come on in, sit down, and have something to eat. I asked Gene Kilroy, what was his favorite meal? Chocolate cake. He loved chocolate cake. And from there, we take you over to the Ali house. And there's a bed in there with an Afghan on it, the way it looked when Muhammad Ali was there. There's a bench there. We have lamps there from way back in the day. And there's a bell outside that we kind of ring a little bit. And Muhammad Ali, during the Cavett interview, right at the beginning, he rings this bell and he turns to Dick Cavett outside and he said, at 4:30 every morning, he said, those guys up in those bunkhouses have got to be down here for 5 a.m. to start training. And he goes in that Cavett interview. It's a great interview. And we take you over to where he worshiped. And it's a mosque. And a lot of people, I don't want people to misconstrue that. The mosque is a video of him talking to an audience in Newcastle, England. And a young fellow about 12, 13 years old says, Champ, what you gonna do when you retire? And he profoundly begins to talk about being a good person. He'll tell you that training boxers, being a boxer, it's not gonna get you into heaven. And he really comes out and says it's not. He says, I wanna meet God. And he says, I wanna be a good person. We had a young fella at Schuylkill Haven High School, or Schuylkill Haven Elementary School, and we'll get into that a little bit about our educational tours. The young fellow walked out. One of the first kids ever to get in there and see this, one of the first schools. Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, superintendent, sent their school over. And as he walks out, he says, this is going to change my life. That's how profound Muhammad is in there talking about life.
We come back and let's talk about your educational tours, which I think are fantastic. Okay, and then Mike Madden, of course, is the son of Joe Madden. John. I'm sorry.
The football coach.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Joe. I know we have a lot of Maddens.
The football coach, folks. I'm talking to Sam Matta. He is the media relations director for the Fighters Heaven, which is in Deer Lake. The phone number is on the screen. You can call to set up tours. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. We're talking about Muhammad Ali right here on the Sam Lesante Show. Sam Matta is here. He is the media relations director. It is Fighters Heaven, Deer Lake. Phone number we're going to put on the screen. Two things I want to ask you. Number one, Mike Madden, the son of John Matta, right? Yes. Okay. Why did he buy the camp?
Well, he had this, he loved Muhammad Ali. He was a fan of his growing up. And when Muhammad died on the 3rd of June 2016, he was listening to all these talk shows, radio and television out in Pleasanton he lives. And they were coming out of Oakland area. And they were describing it wrong. He got very upset with that because he believes in accuracy the way Gene Kilroy does. Tell it accurately. So he decides to Google Muhammad Ali training camp and finds out it's for sale. A realtor in Reading, Pennsylvania had the property. He called her and offered $500,000. She said, well, that's not going to do it. He said, I'll give you $520,000 and that's it. She said, sold. He never saw the place. He wired the money out. Flew in July, signed the papers, and the place is in shambles. Calls Gene Kilroy and sends him an email, and Gene calls him back and says, listen, you're going to need somebody to help you out that knows the area. And he recommended me. So that's how it all started with him.
Wow.
But we entertained various contractors, and we brought in a contractor from up in Watsontown, and they've done a marvelous job, Doolittle Construction. I mean, it's just phenomenal the work that they have done for us, and their work ethic. The Amish people are unbelievable, and that's how it all evolved.
Good. Now at the camp, okay, there are many things happening. Okay, so, but I'm interested in those educational tours. What actually happens when you do an educational tour?
Well, you know, right now we have the Schuylkill County kids starting to come in. We're going to pick it back up in late August, early September. Penn State Schuylkill's right there. They've come over too. But we're trying to target all schools. There's no charge. It's free of charge especially for the kids. They all they got to do is contact us, and we have we talk about Muhammad Ali, how he came here, and then we break them off into groups. And Nick will take them in one group, and I'll take them in the other group, and we go on to explain the history of the camp. Mike Madden wants to preserve the history of the camp. You cannot divert history. History can't change it. So you got to learn from history. And the superintendents down our way realize that we need diversity in our lives. And so we're an ever evolving country, and diversity is the bottom line. And Muhammad Ali was all about diversity. Yeah. He went through a lot of trials and tribulations. But the educational tour is fantastic. We don't care where you come from. Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton area, bring them in. They can contact us on through the website, fightersheaven.com, or by phone, and our phone is on there. But we have a great setup. If the administrators want to come and see us before they bring their students, just get in touch with us. They're welcome to come down. Penn State Hazleton, they're welcome. Anybody in the educational field we love to bring in, and that's our goal right now, of bringing the educational, to teach about history and to teach about diversification.
It's interesting when you said that one young student said, this has changed my life. I'd like to know in what respect, what hit him that he said it changed his life. Did he ever discuss that with you?
No, he never discussed it, but when you watch that film in that mosque, and Muhammad Ali sits there and he holds up a glass, and he said, how did this glass get here? It didn't get here by itself. And he says, how many people believe that there's a supreme being out there? And he knows that there's a God, and he believes in that, whether people believe it or not. And his idea, he said, this suit didn't wove itself, he says.
That's interesting to learn about the guy that, you could tell when you met him in person, you got to know him, not real good, but got to know him, that he had a passion and he had a faith and he believed in God, and it was something that always his entire family was involved with. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh my God, yeah. His family, now when he became an Islam, his family still said, I believe they were Baptists, I'm not positive, so please forgive me on that one. But they still practice their religion. And Muhammad, till the day he died, practiced that religion. Yeah. So people can't say otherwise.
Yeah. so many lessons you can learn when you talk about history. It's a shame that today some people are trying to change history, okay? And those are troubling times, okay? But that's another whole show that you've heard me talk about a number of times. But I think it's great, Sam, to have something like that, and the fact that he has touched so many people here. Like I said, Dr. Victor Greco was, one of his primary consultants as a doctor, and gave him a lot of advice. And he met a lot of nice people up here, and it's interesting. And I got to congratulate you and Mike Madden and
well, it's a team, Kilroy and Mick Stefanik down there.
I met Kilroy once. He was quite a dynamic person.
He is dynamic. Let me tell you, he'll leave an impression on you forever.
He is a great guy. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, I appreciate it, and what a great show this is for everybody up in our area.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much, folks. It's called Fighters Heaven. It's the former training camp of Muhammad Ali. You've seen a lot of footage that we've been showing you. You want to go there, the phone number, Sam, if you put it up, the website is up there, fightersheaven.com. It's not a difficult website. I think it'd be a great day to bring the kids down. It'd be a good opportunity for you to just relax for the day and see some great history. Remember, if you want to see the show anywhere in the world, all our shows are on our app, ssptv.com. Just search it, and as well as YouTube. If you don't have cable, which you should, you could tell anyone to go to YouTube and search SSP TV. All the shows are there. We'll see you next time.